Hey y'all, today I'm going to show you how to make my family's favorite dessert, creme brulee. If you've never had or made creme brulee, you might think of it as too fancy, but let me tell you, this creme brulee is so easy to make and it wows every single person that's ever eaten it. I've been making it for a long time, and listen, if my sister, who doesn't do well with baking, can make it, anyone can. So let's get into it and I'll show you how easy it really is to make. First, let's go over a few things that you'll need. I like to mix the custard in a large pitcher like this so it's easier to pour right into the ramekins. And then this is the setup. It's called a bain-marie in French, but it's just a fancy name for a water bath. Now here I'm using a large disposable roasting pan, but normally I use an old roasting pan that I have that I no longer use for roasting. Anything that will allow the water to come about halfway up the sides of the ramekins is good. These are the ramekins I'm using now. They're 6 ounces each, and they're a couple of inches deep as compared to the ones like this, which are the typical creme brulee ramekins that are more shallow, like maybe an inch or so deep. I have such a collection of ramekins, it's almost ridiculous, y'all. Most of these I've gotten from craft or hobby stores like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and I can't seem to resist how cute they are when I see them in the stores. See, these are Christmas ornaments, so freaking cute. So you can use either shallow ones like this or the deep ones that I'm using today, and I'll go over the baking times for each of those. So in my bowl, I'm adding 10 egg yolks. Yep, that's a lot of egg yolks. In the written recipe though, I have plenty of ideas that you can use up the egg whites for, like angel food cake, pavlova, meringue, stuff like that. And I'll add in my vanilla. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay because I'm just going to squeeze out the seeds from these vanilla beans. I think creme brulee almost requires vanilla bean specks throughout. It's just not the same without those. Sorry, but our hands are the best tools in the kitchen sometimes, and I've got to squeeze it out with my fingers. So there's going to be a lot of vanilla bean specks in this creme brulee. Okay, I'll add in my sugar, which is 1 cup or 200 grams. And now I will whisk until I can't whisk anymore. I want the sugar to kind of dissolve in there from the whisk because unlike most creme brulee recipes, this one doesn't require you to heat the cream up on the stove and then temper the egg yolks and all that crap. It's basically just dump all the ingredients in, whisk, and bake. That's what makes this such a simple recipe that anyone can do it. All right, the final ingredient, the heavy cream. This is 1 quart, which is 4 cups or 946 grams. I'm going to use my scale because I had a partial quart already open in my fridge. So I need to weigh it to make sure I get the right weight. And then whisk again until it's well combined. This mixture actually can sit in the fridge for a few days. You can just cover it and leave it in the fridge until you're ready to bake the custards, but you can also bake the custards and leave them in the fridge for a couple of days. So this is really a great make-ahead recipe. You just can't torch the tops until you are ready to serve. So I've transferred some of this to a smaller pitcher so I have a little more control, and I'll just fill these ramekins about a ½ inch from the top. Notice that I don't have any water in here yet. Through the years, and I mean years, this is like before my kids were born, of making this, I've come up with a method that works best for me to prevent splatter and basically disaster in the kitchen. So I'm not going to fill this final one, and I'm going to take this entire thing to my oven where I've got the rack pulled out already and the oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason I took one out is because I want to pour my boiling water in where that one was. If I left it there, then I'd have a hard time pouring the boiling water in, and the water might actually splash into the custards, and no one wants that. No one wants our custards ruined. We want our silky smooth custards like they're supposed to be. So just carefully pour the hot water in, and I just boiled some water in my tea kettle. And I'm making sure that the water comes up to about halfway up the sides. Now I can replace that ramekin and pour the rest of the cream mixture in it. And I have a little left over, so I'll just divide it between the rest of these. And I've got a sheet of foil that I'm only loosely covering these with. And I'm going to bake these custards for 40 minutes exactly. So I'm setting off a timer. And my timer just went off, so I'm going to pull the pan out carefully and check them. And just by carefully shaking the pan, I can see that these aren't ready yet. You can see that they're not set further away from the middle. So I'm going to put this back in, put the foil back on it, and set my timer for another 10 minutes. All right, it's been 10 minutes. I'll check them again. You want just the very center to jiggle. See that? It's like a little more than an inch in diameter of the center. And that's when you know they are done, because they're going to set further when they cool down and then when they chill. Now, the shallower pans you use, the less time you will need. So they will probably be done right at the 40-minute stage. Okay, I want to show you. This is another batch I took out of the oven 10 minutes ago. And what I like to do is wrap rubber bands around my tongs so they won't slip, because these are still pretty hot. So I'll grab each one of them and wipe off the bottoms with a towel. And the rubber bands just help with the grip so they don't slip back in and create a disaster. And now look at these. You see how the middle only just jiggles ever so slightly? That's exactly what they should look like when they're going in the fridge. The worst part is waiting. These have to chill for at least 3 to 4 hours, y'all, before you can serve them. And they are ready. Now, this is my husband's huge blowtorch that he's letting me use, and I think I'm going to commandeer it because I really like it. My kitchen blowtorch died on me, and I needed a blowtorch, and he had one, and I'm like, this is way better than mine. So I'm going to use turbinado, or sugar in the raw sugar. You can also use granulated sugar. I've used that plenty of times. You can also use like a mixture of brown sugar and granulated sugar. I just like the way the turbinado is. It seems to work out the best, and especially if you're using a kitchen blowtorch, it works the best. So I'm just going to shake this around to make sure it all gets covered really well. And then carefully with the blowtorch, I'm going to start torching it. If you have a kitchen blowtorch, it's going to take a little bit longer than this like industrial size one, but it'll still do just fine. Now, if you don't have a kitchen torch, which they're really cheap, they're like 20 bucks or something, I'll leave a link for that. You can certainly put these under the broiler, but the broiler method isn't the best method. You will still get the caramelization, but there's more of a chance that it'll either burn or like further cook the custard underneath, and that custard will get heated up, and you definitely don't want the custard to get heated up. You want that cold custard. So now that I've torched this, I'm gonna let it sit for another maybe minute or so, just to firm up completely. It's not firm enough yet. And actually, I think I'm gonna go back and add a little more torch to mine just to get those very edges. There we go. And now let's crack into it. I think it's ready. That's so satisfying, y'all. I just can't even describe to you how perfect creme brulee is. Think of the flavor of like the best vanilla ice cream you've ever had with the creamiest pudding you've ever had. It is just phenomenal, y'all. You've got to try it to believe it yourself. And if you've ever had creme brulee, this one is just like the best creme brulee you've ever had. And it's so easy. You saw how easy it was to make. Make it once and you'll keep this recipe forever, I'm telling you. Look at how creamy that is and smooth. Your guest won't be able to get enough, and you might have people fighting over the last one like my family does. Enjoy.